ほら、ルフィ、今一緒に海賊になる仲間を探してるんだ。
Hello guys, welcome to my channel The Wandering Zoro, your go-to destination for anime-related content. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. In today's video, we're going to be diving into part 2 of the series. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. Third person. The two newly acquainted boys walked together off the school's campus. They traveled towards the shops in awkward silence. Neither of them seemed bothered by how quiet it was. They walked into a supermarket. Todoroki grabbed a basket. Get whatever you'd like. I have my dad's credit card. Todoroki held up a gold credit card. Who? Doesn't he need that? Midori asked. Maybe. Todoroki put it away and glanced around. Well, I can cook a bit, so is there anything you want me to make? Midori asked. Soba. Todoroki drooled. Okay. Midori chirped. Then he ran off to collect ingredients. Todoroki found soap, shampoo, conditioner, and detergent for washing dishes and cleaning clothes. Midori found Todoroki and placed everything he had found in the basket. I'll make soba tonight. Pork cutlet tomorrow. Is that okay? Midori asked. Sounds good, Todoroki said. Oh, can I get a TV for the wall in the kitchen? Todoroki asked. Sure. Midori smiled. Great, Todoroki smiled. Kind of. Together they found other essentials, like toilet paper, snacks, fruit. Then they purchased it all using Midoriya's coupons and Todoroki's father's credit card and went back to the school. They unpacked all the shopping together. Midoriya sat down at the table. Todoroki started measuring the space on the wall. He pulled out his phone and typed some things in, then sat down at the table. My sister will bring my TV here. We can put it on the wall, Todoroki said. Are we allowed to? Midori asked. We can do what we want to he dorms. When we graduate in 3 years, the dorm workers make them look the same as they did at the start. Todoroki explained. Okay. Midori smiled. Should I make some tea for her? If you want. She likes green tea, Todoroki said. Okay. Midori smiled. He pulled the kettle out from the cupboard and boiled it. Oh, we don't have any mugs or plates. Or bowls or utensils. Midori said as he opened the drawers. We have a kettle, a toaster, a fry pan, and a pot. Let's go buy some. Todoroki stood up. But your sister, Midori mentioned. Our house is 30 minutes. She needs to disconnect my TV from the wall and take out the rails so we can put them on the wall here. It'll take her at least an hour before she gets here, Todoroki said. Oh, okay. Midori smiled and picked up his phone. They caught an Uber to a mall, then went to the closest store. They picked out 4 dark gray mugs and matching bowls and plates. They found the cheapest utensils, then got some glass cups and anything else they needed. Should we go to another store and get quilt covers for our beds? Midori asked. That's a good idea, Todoroki said. They purchased the items, then went to another store. Midori picked out a pastel green cover with little lines on it, while Todoroki picked a blue-white one. They got another pillow for the bed, then traveled back to the dorms. They neatly put away all the utensils, then walked into their rooms. Midori felt like he had just moved into a house with a stranger, but the stranger was someone he felt strangely comfortable with. He put his new pillow slips onto his 2 pillows, then picked up the plain white quilt that was provided by the school. He managed to put his quilt cover on, though it hurt his arm. He made his bed neatly and sat down on it. It was surprisingly comfortable. He almost felt like sinking into the bed. But a doorbell sound rung through the dorm house, and he jumped up. Both the boys walked out of their rooms. Todoroki opened the door, where a white or red-haired girl stood with a TV by her feet. Hello, Todoroki said. He picked up the TV and carried it in. The girl followed him and shut the door behind her. She looked over at Midori and gasped. Your roommate is the top student. She mentioned. It is. Todoroki looked at Midori. I slept through the entrance ceremony. The girl slapped him over the head and sighed. Nice to meet you, Midori. My name is Fuyumi Todoroki. She bowed. Midoriya bowed. Nice to meet you, he said. Fuyumi put her backpack on the table, then pulled rails out for the wall. Where do you want it? She said. Todoroki pointed at the wall. She walked up and measured the area, then pulled out a screw gun. Midoriya nervously went and made tea. Fuyumi put the TV up, then connected a console to it. Todoroki just watched the whole time. Midoriya made tea and sat it on the table with biscuits. Fuyumi sighed and sat down. Thanks for the tea, she smiled. No worries. If you want anything else, let me know. Midoriya smiled. Will do. Thank you. I wish Shoto was a good boy like you. She pouted. I'm a good boy, Todoroki frowned. Fuyumi chuckled. Midoriya, do you have any siblings? She asked. No, I'm an only child. Midoriya smiled. Really? That must be nice. I have 3 brothers. 2 of them are ratbags. Shoto is very quiet. She sipped on her tea. Midoriya glanced at Todoroki, who also looked towards him. Midoriya smiled sweetly. Todoroki blushed. Why do you smile like that? Todoroki asked. Like what? Midoriya questioned. Like really cute. Are you seducing everyone? Todoroki looked up and began to think. Huh. No, that's just how I smile. Midoriya tilted his head to the side. Oh, shut up, Shoto, your roommate is cute in general. Fuyumi sighed. I'm not that cute. I can be handsome too. Cute is too girly. Midoriya pouted. Both the siblings stared at the boy's pout, then looked at each other. Cute, they simultaneously said. Midoriya crossed his arms and sighed softly. Oh well, he mumbled. Well, I have to go. Shoto, come with me for a sec, I've got something in the car for you. Fuyumi said. Okay. Shoto mumbled. Oh, nice meeting you. Midoriya smiled. Thanks for the tea, she said as she picked up her backpack and swung it over her shoulder. She opened the door and walked out. Todoroki got up and walked to the door. See you in a bit. Todoroki mumbled. He walked out of the door and ran up to his sister. Please, Shoto, do not fall for your roommate. Fuyumi said. They both walked into an elevator. What? I'm not gay, Todoroki stated. I know you dated that kid, Takeroku, that came over all the time. I saw you making out. Fuyumi crossed her arms. Todoroki's face flushed red. What? You peeping Tom? And I not gay, I'm bi. Todoroki pouted. Not my fault. Anyway, you being gay doesn't bother me. Just don't fall for your roommate. He's probably not gay. Fuyumi mumbled. I don't want my little bro heartbroken now, do I? She ruffled up his hair and smirked. Stop teasing me. I can deal with heartbreak. Todoroki sighed. Fuyumi opened her car and pulled out a bag, then gave it to him. Take this, share it with your roommate. And don't sleep in class. She said. Yay. By then, Todoroki started walking off. Oh, and Dad wants his credit card back. She yelled. Todoroki flipped her off, then ran away as fast as he could. When Todoroki got back to the dorm, Midoriya was cooking up soba. What are you making? Todoroki asked. Sakimi soba. Is that what you want? Midoriya looked up at him with a smile. Sounds good, Todoroki smiled. Good. Midoriya cracked an egg onto a pan with one hand. So did you get full marks on the entrance exams? Todoroki asked. Yeah, somehow. Midoriya looked towards him. What did you get? Midoriya asked. 99%. Todoroki looked up as he thought. I couldn't remember if phi was 1.618 or 1.681. Oh, it's 1.618. Midoriya smiled. Oh, I did that one. I wonder what I got. Wrong then. Todoroki shrugged and got 2 bowls out. He sat them on the small bench, then glanced at Midoriya. The smaller teen looked deep in thought. He chopped up spring onion, then looked up at Todoroki and smiled. It's ready now, Midoriya said. He served up the bowls, then handed one to Todoroki. Todoroki took it with a smile, then sat it on the table. I'll get water, Todoroki said. Okay, Midoriya said as he walked to the table and sat down with his bowl. Todoroki sat a cup of water in front of him and chopsticks next to him. The two of them ate silently. Then Todoroki washed up. Midoriya wiped over the table and made sure the bench was clean. Do you want to play Mario Kart? Todoroki asked. Oh, sure. Midoriya grinned. They sat in the chairs. Todoroki turned on the TV and got up Mario Kart. He handed Midoriya a controller. How do you play? Midoriya asked. Hold down 2 and turn the remote to move, Todoroki explained. Okay. Midoriya glanced up at the screen. Todoroki picked Rainbow Road and put a tiny smile on. Though, unlike what Todoroki believed would happen, Midoriya came first easily. He only fell off once. And he did it using one hand. You've played before? Todoroki questioned. Nope. I just figured out that turning correctly depends on your speed and the degree you turn at. Midoriya smiled. Then, why did you play with one hand? Todoroki mumbled. Oh, my arm's broken and it's a bit sore right now. I've used it a lot today. Midoriya said. Broken? Why isn't it in a cast? Todoroki asked. I got the cast off yesterday. Now it's just wrapped up. Midoriya pulled his sleeve up, showing the bandage around his arm and hand. Oh. Okay, Todoroki picked another hard round. He was salty, because he always won in Mario Kart. But Midoriya won again. And again. And again. Oh, I'm going to shower now. I'm going out in the morning. Midoriya smiled. Okay, Todoroki turned off the TV and put the remotes away. Midoriya grabbed his towel and clothes, then went into the bathroom. He locked the door, then dumped his stuff on the ground. He carefully took his clothes off, then stayed at his arms. One, broken, wrapped up in a bandage. The other, scars that reminded him of his last 7 weeks in middle school. Scars that Minato had given him. They were thin because of stitches, thankfully, but he saw them as clear as ever. He looked towards his left shoulder, where wounds were present. The ones he had given himself. Since the sewing pin hadn't been working, he had started cutting on his shoulder. They were already leaving scars, and he was running out of room. He let out a sigh as he unraveled the bandage on his broken arm. He turned on the shower, then hopped in and stood under it. The shower steamed up around him. He inhaled sharply, then washed his face under the warm water. He washed his hair, then his body. Then he turned off the shower. He put on his pajamas, then realized it was short-sleeved. He had grabbed the wrong pair. It didn't bother him, because his self-harm scars were on his shoulder, hidden by the short sleeves. But the scar Minato had given him could be seen, only if you looked hard enough. He hung his towel on the rail, then picked up his clothes and walked out of the bathroom. Todoroki looked at Midoriya. A delivery guy dropped of our books in uniform, Todoroki said. Oh, give me a sec. Midoriya walked into his room and neatly hung his clothes up, then walked out while struggling to strap his arm back up. Would you like help with that? Todoroki asked. That would be nice. Midoriya nervously chuckled. Todoroki walked over to the smaller boy and took the bandage. Does it need to be tight? He asked. Yeah. Midoriya mumbled. Let's sit down. Then Todoroki gestured towards the chairs. The two of them sat down. Todoroki carefully wrapped up his arm, but tightly. Midoriya winced when he wrapped tightly over the part where his bone was actually broken. Sorry, Todoroki apologized. It's fine, it's fine. Midoriya smiled. Todoroki noticed the small scar on the boy's other arm, that red dye, along with all the other small scars. He quickly looked away, pretending he hadn't seen anything. He didn't want to pry into business he wasn't invited into. He tucked the final piece of the bandage under the other part, then looked at Midoriya. All done. Todoroki stood up. Want me to carry your box into your room? He asked. That would be a good help. Thank you. Midoriya smiled. Todoroki walked over to 2 boxes. He picked up the one with Midoriya's name on it, then walked into Midoriya's room. Midoriya followed behind him. On the floor there is fine, thanks. Midoriya said. Todoroki placed the box on the floor. Thanks for your help. Midoriya smiled kindly. Todoroki smiled a little. Well, I'm off to unpack. Night, Midoriya-kun, Todoroki said. Night, Todoroki-kun. Midoriya smiled. Todoroki walked out of the room and quietly closed the door behind himself. Midoriya looked towards the box, then opened it. Inside was his school uniform. He pulled it out and smiled. There was a gray, neatly pressed blazer with dark green stripes in various places. There were 3 white button-up shirts and 2 green trousers. And of course, the red tie, which Midoriya had no idea how to tie. He hung it all up in his cupboard, then went back to the box. There were labeled books and stationery, as well as a backpack and a laptop. He neatly set everything up on his desk, then jumped into bed. He was surprised at how comfy the bed was, and he fell asleep almost immediately. The night was peaceful for a while, but around an hour later he woke up breathless from the same nightmare he had every night. He panicked as he remembered the truck hitting his mother, her vital fluid that not only stained the road, but him too. Then he was hit. He covered his mouth, believing he would throw up from the traumatic memories. He rolled out of his bed and ran into the bathroom. As soon as his eyes met the toilet, he threw up into it. He sat there, coughing, with tear-filled eyes. Midoriya, are you okay? Todoroki asked. Midoriya flinched and spun around. Todoroki was stood by the door with a worried expression on his face. Midoriya put on a forced smile. Sorry, I'm okay. Midoriya mumbled as he wiped his eyes. Are you sick? Do you want medicine? He asked. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Sorry for waking you. Midoriya trembled as he stood up. No, I was awake. It's only 10:30. Todoroki tilted his head to the side. I'll go get you medicine. Go back to bed when you're ready. Todoroki ran off before Midoriya could protest. He flushed the toilet and splashed his face with water. His hands were trembling aggressively, so he held them behind his back while he silently walked into his room and laid back down. Todoroki turned on the light, then walked up to his bed and handed him a glass of water along with a small pill. Midoriya took it and sat up. Thanks, he mumbled, then he put the pill in his mouth and swallowed it down with water. Todoroki put his hand on the smaller boy's forehead, then out his other hand on his own. You're a little warm, he assessed. Oh, I'm not sick. Sorry, it's not something you can catch. Midoriya mumbled. I know. You had a nightmare, didn't you? You were asleep talking a bit. I could hear you when I was in the kitchen. Todoroki took the cup from him and placed it on the floor. He looked up at the smaller boy and noticed he looked terrified. I'm sorry. I promise I won't tell. And you don't have to tell me anything you don't want to say. Okay. Todoroki reassured, but Midoriya started trembling again. Sorry. Midoriya held his hands together, trying to make them still. Midoriya, I know a breathing technique that should calm you down if you'd like to try it, Todoroki calmly said. Yeah. Midoriya mumbled. Breathe in through your nose until there's no more room in your lungs. Then breathe in again through your mouth. Hold it for a second. Then exhale, Todoroki explained. Midoriya did what he said, and let out a shaky breath. Again, Todoroki smiled. Midoriya did it again, then again, and sure enough, his hands stopped shaking. There. Try get some sleep, yeah? Come get me if you need help again, Todoroki said. He stood up, and to the door. Night, he said. Then he turned off the light, quietly closing the door behind himself. Midoriya sunk into his bed. He felt stupid for already dragging his roommate into his personal problems, but before he could argue much more, he fell asleep. And that night, he didn't wake up again or have any nightmares. Midoriya had woken up early that morning and caught a bus to the cemetery. He stood in front of his mother's grave with flowers in his hand. I got into UA, Mum, he smiled as he laid the flowers next to the stone. My roommate seems really nice. But I think I might burden him too. I'll do my best, because that's what you wanted. I'll try to be happy, for you. Though my heart aches with sorrow, because I miss you dearly. Midoriya mumbled. He clapped his hands together twice, then bowed and prayed. He soon left the cemetery, stood at the road. He swallowed, then looked both ways and crossed. When he made it to the other side, his chest felt like bursting. He never managed to calmly cross the road. He walked into a mall and walked around. His phone started buzzing, making him flinch. He pulled it out of his pocket and looked at it. His uncle was calling. He pressed the answer button. Hello. Midoriya mumbled. Happy birthday. Hiraku yelled through the phone. Midoriya smiled. Thank you. Are you spending time with your girlfriends today? Hiraku teased. No, I visited Mom. Now I'm getting stuff for the dorm. Midoriya looked around the mall. What? You should eat junk and have fun with your friends. Hiraku scolded. I'll take some cream bread back to my roommate. Midoriya said. Buy a cake. I'll send you money. Hiraku said. A cake? No. That's fine. I'll just get cream bread. Midoriya stressed. No, a cake, and send me pictures or I'll come with one myself. Hiraku demanded. Okay, I'll buy a cake. Midoriya sighed. Good, well then I'll let you go. CYA. He said. Goodbye, uncle. Midoriya smiled. He hung up and walked up to a bakery. There were a few cakes. He looked for the cheapest one and found a small chocolate cake. He brought it, then walked out of the mall. He was going to call Todoroki and asked if he wanted anything, but realized he didn't have his number yet. Midoriya went to a bus stop, then hopped on a bus that went back to the school. He looked at the time. It was already 11 a.m. He sighed and looked out the window. He fiddled with his thumbs, but kept his arms wrapped around the box that was on his lap with the cake in it. After around 30 minutes, the bus approached his school, so he pressed the stop button. He got off the bus and walked back to the dorms. He tapped his ID on the door and walked in. Todoroki was playing Mario Kart. He looked over at Midoriya. Welcome back, Todoroki said. Hello. Midoriya said as he sat the box on the table. Do you like sweets? Midoriya asked. Yeah, Todoroki tilted his head. My uncle told me to buy a cake. Would you like some? Midoriya asked. Sure. Is it your birthday today? Todoroki asked. Yeah. Midoriya chuckled. Oh, then happy birthday. He put his thumb up. Midoriya opened the box and took the cake out. Thank you. Midoriya smiled. He took a picture of the cake, then sent it to Hiraku. He walked over to the little kitchen, got out a knife and plates. How much would you like? Midoriya asked. I don't mind. Todoroki stood up and got 2 forks. Midoriya cut 2 slices from the small cake, leaving a bit more than half left. Maybe I'll go see if Mina and Momo want some, he mumbled to himself. He sat the 2 slices on the plates, then sat one in front of Todoroki. Todoroki sat a fork by Midoriya's plate. Thanks for the food, Todoroki said. Midoriya smiled and dug into the cake. He loved birthday cakes. They were his favorite. Todoroki stared at Midoriya's satisfied expression. He thought the boy looked adorable. It wasn't long before Midoriya finished his slice. He looked upset when he noticed it was all gone. He pulled out his phone and texted Momo and Mina. Group chat. Momo Y. Mina A. Hello. Would you like some cake? Mina is typing. Mina, hell yes. What's your room? Number? 201. Are girls allowed in boys' rooms? Mina, our room is in the same building. We are room 210. Oh, well that's good. See you soon. Midoriya glanced towards his roommate. My friend's coming for some cake, is that okay? Midoriya asked. I don't mind, Todoroki said. Thanks. Midoriya smiled happily. He stood up and cleaned up a bit. Todoroki just stared at him. Midoriya. Your smile might kill everyone, Todoroki mentioned. How? Midoriya asked. It's too precious. Far too precious for this world to handle. Todoroki sighed to himself. Is that a compliment? Or? Midoriya tilted his head, but there was a knock on the door. He walked over and opened it. Mina ran into the room. It's our little child Momo. Look, I think he's grown. Mina yelled. Momo sighed and walked into the room. Sorry, Izuku, she said. Hello, Momo. Midoriya smiled. Momo. Todoroki murmured. Momo looked over at Todoroki and gasped. Shoto? She said. Wow, you've changed a bit, Todoroki said. As have you, she said. Well, at least I know Izuku isn't rooming with an idiotic pervert. Midoriya gasped. Naughty word. Idiot isn't a naughty word. Mina protested. Midoriya covered Mina's mouth. Would you say idiot in front of a principal? No, so it's a naughty word. Midoriya pouted. Has done it again, Todoroki mumbled. Done what? Momo asked. Them innocent faces. They could end the world. Todoroki mumbled. I know, right? Momo mumbled to him. Midoriya looked over at them, cluelessly. Oh, would you like some cake? He smiled. Yes. Mina cheered. Midoriya got out plates and forks, then cut them both slices. Wait, is it your birthday? Momo asked. Yup. Midoriya smiled as he handed them both a plate. Oh, why didn't you tell us sooner? Momo quickly got out her phone. Please take the cake, my arm's broken and it hurts to even touch anything, and I feel like it'll snap again. Midoriya continued muttering from the pain in his arm. Todoroki took the plates and sat them on the table. Thanks. Midoriya sighed and held his arm. Oh no, it's your birthday and I haven't gotten you anything. Mina said. Naughty word. Midoriya pouted. The two girls sat down and scoffed the cake. We will be back. Mina yelled. They both ran out of the dorm. Midoriya crossed his arms. Geez. They didn't even apologize for saying a naughty word. Midoriya pouted. Todoroki stayed at the boy, then chuckled quietly. I can see why you're Momo's friend. Todoroki rested his cheek in his hand. Oh, how did you meet her? Midoriya asked. Kids, Todoroki explained. Midoriya smiled. That's cool. Hey. They tried to make us fall in love by sending us on dates. But neither of us were interested in each other, Todoroki sighed. Really? Lots of the boys in middle school liked her for some reason. Midoriya smiled. Because of high body and wealth. Todoroki explained. Body? Why body? Midoriya questioned. People normally are interested in certain body types. Don't you have aspects in a person that you would go for? Todoroki asked. Nope. I've never dated. But I think I'd go for their personality. Midoriya grinned. You're too innocent for this world, Midoriya. Todoroki sighed. How so? Midoriya asked. If you're not careful, you'll be snatched by someone who will only love you because you're cute. Todoroki stated. Ooh, okay. I'll keep that in mind. I'm definitely not cute. I can be handsome too. Midoriya smiled. Todoroki face planted. Todoroki and Midoriya played Mario Kart for a while and ate snacks. Around 2 hours after the girls had left, there was a knock on the door. Midoriya got up and opened the door. Happy birthday! Mina screamed. Midoriya flinched at the sudden loud noise. Happy birthday! Momo smiled. Thanks, guys. Midoriya invited them in. Mina carried in a big bag, and Momo carried heating trays. We brought you food and presents. Momo said. Huh? You didn't have to do anything. Midoriya shook his hands in the air. Too late. Mina grinned and sat the presents on the chair. Momo sat the trays on the table. There's enough for all 4 of us. Momo smiled. Midoriya's eyes filled with tears. You guys, he sobbed as he pulled them both into a hug. Happy birthday, Shorty. Mina smiled. I'm not short. Midoriya complained. Their afternoon was spent playing games, opening presents, and eating food. They all had a good time, but the time came where the girls had to go back to their dorms. Todoroki and Midoriya both got ready for bed, then said goodnight before retiring to their rooms. It wasn't long before Midoriya had fallen asleep, but the nightmares came fast. He woke up as soon as the truck smashed into him. He sat up, gasping, and clenching onto his sheet. Every night, the scene played in his head seemed to get more violent and scarier the more it was played. He hoped to himself that he hadn't disturbed Todoroki. His hands were trembling again. He tried the breathing technique Todoroki had showed him, but it didn't work. He got up, put on some slippers, then walked out onto the balcony. He stood there, staring up at the stars. It was rather cold out, but he didn't really notice. Mum, why were you taken from me? He mumbled, as a tear rolled down his innocent cheek. Before he knew it, he was crying. He covered his face with his hands. He felt like screaming. Inside his head, thoughts were bouncing around, blaming him for her death, or saying it should have been him instead. He tugged at the green locks on his head, desperately trying to make the thoughts go away. Todoroki opened his door and looked towards the smaller boy. He pulled the blanket off his bed and walked up to Midoriya, wrapping the blanket around his shoulders. You'll get sick. Would you like to talk? Todoroki quietly asked. Midoriya looked up at his roommate with tear-filled eyes. Todoroki frowned, then guided him into his own room and sat him on the bed. What's wrong? You don't have to tell me if it's personal. Todoroki sat in his chair. Sorry. Just a nightmare. Midoriya mumbled. Again. Todoroki questioned. Yeah. I think I'm traumatized, he mumbled. Sorry. If it's a sensitive topic, then you don't have to talk about it. But you can if you want, Todoroki smiled reassuringly. Midoriya looked into the distance as he thought. Then he looked at Todoroki. I think I will keep having nightmares, so I should tell you. But I don't want to burden you with the weight of my problems. Midoriya mumbled. I don't mind. I'll try help you. We are roommates after all, Todoroki said. Midoriya sat silently for a bit, then let out a little sigh. Well, a couple months ago, I was in an accident with my mom. A truck hit us both. She died. But I always have nightmares replaying the scene. My mom dies, and I get hit. Midoriya rubbed his broken arm in slight discomfort. That's horrible. I'm sorry for your loss, Todoroki sympathized. I'm sorry that you have to deal with me. Thanks for last night, too. Midoriya pulled the blanket further over himself. I don't mind. Though, you shouldn't suffer in silence. There are people that can help you, Todoroki said. Yeah. Midoriya mumbled. You can lay down in my bed. I'll go get some hot chocolate, okay? Todoroki stood up. Thank you, Todoroki. Midoriya mumbled. It's fine, he said as he walked out of the room. He stood in the kitchen while he made hot chocolate, and he thought about the poor boy. He felt sorry for Midoriya, because he knew what it was like to suffer from trauma. He held his hand over the burn scar on his face. Though, he was happy his mother was still alive. He still felt he had to help Midoriya, in some way. He carried 2 hot chocolates into his room. But when he got there, Midoriya had fallen asleep. Todoroki smiled, and quietly placed the 2 mugs on his desk. He pulled a futon out of his cupboard and rolled it onto the floor, then turned off the light. Sleep well, he whispered, as he tucked Midoriya into bed, then crawled into the futon. The next morning, Midoriya was the first to wake up. He sat up and stretched, then looked down at Todoroki. He gasped and looked around the room, noticing it was not his own. Todoroki's eyes fluttered open. He glanced up at Midoriya and smiled. Morning, he mumbled. I'm sorry. I fell asleep accidentally. You should have slept in my bed. You didn't have to sleep on the floor, or you could have woken me up. I'm sorry. Midoriya continued apologizing. Oh hush, I don't mind. I prefer futons over beds. Todoroki stretched. But still, I fell asleep in your bed. Midoriya panicked. It doesn't bother me. Don't freak out. Anyway, I'm going to go shower. Todoroki rolled up the futon and threw it into the cupboard. While Todoroki was in the shower, Midoriya tidied Todoroki's room and cooked up breakfast. Todoroki walked out of the bathroom with a towel around his waist. Smells nice, he mentioned. Pancakes, Midoriya said. Then he looked at Todoroki and blushed. No fair, why do you have abs? Midoriya pouted, while he stared at the taller boy's toned body. Oh, I did martial arts, Todoroki said. I did martial arts once, but I'm pudgy. Midoriya complained, as he poked his stomach. No, you're perfect just the way you are. Todoroki smiled and walked into his room. Midoriya blushed, and his heart skipped a beat. Who? Am I sick? He mumbled to himself, as he placed his hand on his head. Oh, did you clean my room? Todoroki poked his head around the door. Oh, a little. Midoriya chuckled nervously. You didn't have to. Thanks though, he said before shutting the door. Midoriya looked towards the pancake and flipped it. He couldn't remember what he was thinking about, so he just hummed as he cooked. It was finally Monday, the first day of high school. Midoriya and Todoroki were silently walking towards the main campus. It was rather early, but Midoriya was a morning person, so he was happy. Todoroki wished he was still in bed. Do you think our class will be nice? Midoriya asked. Who knows? Todoroki yawned as he looked around. Our parents are business partners. We've known each other since we were at the large school. They were walking through a garden. There were low hedges along the path which had flowers blooming out of them, and green grass covered the area between them. There were seats, cherry blossom trees, and other beautiful plants all around. Right in front of the doors to the school was a water fountain. Midoriya ran his fingers along the white stone of the fountain and inhaled the fresh air. Well, let's do our best. Midoriya grinned. Eventually, they found their classroom. There were a few students in it who were chatting or sitting down silently. There were names on each of the students' desks. Midoriya found his and put his bag on the hook. He was upset to know Todoroki's desk was so far away. The bell to start the day soon went, and students piled into the room. Midoriya assesses them all. But when he saw one kid, his heart thumped. He had blonde, spiky hair and a big scowl on his face. Kakin. He hadn't talked to Kakin since before the accident. He wasn't even sure if the boy knew his mother had died. Even worse, Katsuki's desk was in front of his. And when he made it to his desk, he saw Midoriya. Deku. He questioned. A big glare crossed his face. What are you doing here? He snapped. A sudden memory from the car hitting his mum popped into his head, and he shivered. Sit down. You obviously didn't go to the entrance ceremony. Midoriya mumbled sadly. I had an appointment. Why the hell did you transfer, shitty nerd? Couldn't handle being yelled at. Katsuki questioned. None of your business, he mumbled. Everyone shut up and sit down. A husky voice yelled. Everyone sat down and glanced up the front. A man with a black high ponytail stood up the front. He looked exhausted, but had nice attire on. He wore a dark gray button-up shirt with black jeans and leather shoes. I'm your homeroom teacher for the rest of high school, Aizawa. I want to sleep, but unfortunately we have things to do this morning. He said. He did the roll, then told everyone to open up their laptops. They had to sign up with their new school emails and learn to use a school program website. That's all they did for the first lesson, but the second lesson was an elective. Midoriya had science, which remained in his classroom. Some of sport kids left, including Mina and Katsuki, but most remained. A teacher came in to teach the lesson, and Midoriya loved it. He answered all the questions he could, which was all of them, and the teacher already loved his enthusiasm. After that lesson was lunch. Midoriya sat with Todoroki, and they both ate the lunch Midoriya had prepared that morning. Momo and Mina eventually joined them too. A girl with short brown hair walked up to their table and nervously stood there. I'm Uraraka Ochiko. I'm in your homeroom. Could I please sit with you? She pleaded. Sure, take a seat. Momo smiled. Uraraka thanked them and sat down. I haven't been able to make friends yet, and I'm not boarding here. So you live close? Momo asked. Yes, I live a 5-minute walk from here, and we don't have much money. So I couldn't afford to board here anyway. She blushed a little. Fair enough. This school is expensive. Midoriya smiled at the girl. Everyone blushed. Midoriya, I told you to stop smiling. It's too precious for this dark world, Todoroki mumbled. I don't understand what you mean, though. Midoriya pouted. Mina and Momo chuckled. Midoriya sighed and leaned himself back into his chair. The bell sounded through the school, and everyone started packing up their lunch. See you around, Uraraka. Midoriya smiled and went to his class. His final lesson of the day was math, and once again he was answering all the questions. He completed all the set work neatly into his book, then got extension work to do. The day ended much quicker than he thought it would, and he started packing his stuff at the end of the day. Midoriya. A voice called. Midoriya spun around. Aizawa was standing at the door, looking at him. Can you come with me? Bring your stuff too. He said, or demanded. Yes, sir. Midoriya said as he swung his bag over his shoulder. He looked at Todoroki. I'll see you later. You don't need to wait for me, he said. Then he walked up to Aizawa. Come with me. Aizawa said as he walked off. Midoriya followed the man, nervous as if he'd done something wrong. He took Midoriya into the staff room and sat down in a small lounge area. Take a seat, he mumbled. Midoriya sat down on the other couch. Aizawa took out a clipboard and looked at a sheet of paper. You're expelled, he said. What? Midoriya gasped. Aizawa snickered, then smiled. Just kidding. That was worth your reaction. Aizawa smirked. Midoriya sighed. So I'm not expelled. No, I brought you here because we seem to have made some mix-ups in your personal details. Your dad isn't Hiraku Midoriya, is it? Aizawa asked. No. He's my uncle, but my guardian. Midoriya explained. Okay. Then, what about Inko Midoriya? She's your auntie. He asked. Midoriya flinched, then looked down. She's my mom. But she passed away a couple months ago, so Hiraku is my guardian. Midoriya explained. Aizawa remained silent for a bit, then wrote some things on the sheet. Then you're my problem child now. Aizawa asked. Who? What does that mean? Midoriya asked. Do you have mental health issues? He asked. I don't know. Midoriya mumbled. Oh, then. Aizawa wrote down on a blue sheet and sat it down on the table between them. Go see the school doctor and get a mental health care plan. Who? When? Midoriya mumbled. Right now. Then bring me back the results, so I can keep an eye on you. Aizawa said. Oh. Okay. Midoriya took the sheet and stood up. See you later. Aizawa laid on the couch and went to sleep. Midoriya awkwardly left the staff room and looked around. He had no idea where the school doctor was. Midoriya eventually found the doctor. She likes to call herself Recovery Girl. When Midoriya showed her the paper Aizawa had given him, she started asking him lots of questions. Some personal, others were just general. He had to fill out a sheet and circle the things that applied to him. In the end, she wrote things down on an online sheet and printed it off. She stood next to him and showed him the sheets of paper. You have anxiety, PTSD, and depression. And I fear you could be developing a psychosis-related issue. Come to me once every fortnight. I'll send you an email when I want you to come in. She explained. Oh, okay. Thank you for your help, miss. Midoriya smiled. No problem. Have a good afternoon. She said. Midoriya bowed, then left the room with the sheets of paper. He felt confused as to why he had depression, but decided it did make sense in the end. He already knew he had anxiety. It was diagnosed when he was younger. But PTSD? Thinking about that made him scared. Sometimes it can take a long time for help to work with that illness. He knocked on the door to the staff room, and a teacher that he'd never seen opened it. I'm here to see Aizawa. Midoriya mumbled. Come in. He's on the couch, she said. Midoriya walked in. She took him to the couch where Aizawa was asleep. She poured her cup of water over his head. He opened his eyes and glared at her. Want to die? He growled at the other teacher. Midoriya gasped at the naughty word he had said. A kid is here to see you. She poked her tongue out. He looked at Midoriya and sat up. Sit down. Aizawa said. The other teacher walked off. Midoriya sat down and stared at his now soaked homeroom teacher. Can I see the papers? He said. Midoriya handed him the papers. He skimmed through them. Oh, you self-harm. Aizawa glanced around the boy. Midoriya flinched, then nervously nodded. Not often, he mumbled. That's fine. I'm not going to yell at you. So, you're one of the problem children in the class. Aizawa said. What does that mean? Midoriya asked. Well, you've got some kind of problem that I'll do my best to help you with. Though I'm not good at feelings, I'll keep an eye out. I've got my eye on another kid. Spiky blonde hair. I think he will be a problem child because he has anger issues. Aizawa explained. Oh, okay. Thank you. Midoriya tilted his head to the side. Aizawa flicked through the pages. Well, take this with you. You can go now, problem child. Aizawa said, as he handed his sheets to Midoriya. Midoriya took the sheets and bowed, then began walking back through the school to get to his dorm. He took out his phone and texted Todoroki apologizing that he was so late, but he was on his way now. He let out a quiet sigh as he walked through the garden in his school. The sun was setting. The sky was painted with many different colors. Midoriya stared, mesmerized by the sight. It wasn't long before he made it to the dormitory building. He took the lift up to his floor, then traveled to his door, which was right at the end of the hallway. He tapped his ID on the door and walked into his house. Todoroki stood in the kitchen, cooking up food. He glanced towards Midoriya and smiled. Welcome back. I'm making soba, Todoroki greeted. Midoriya smiled and put his bag on the chair. Sounds good, Midoriya said. Midoriya stretched, then walked into his room. He changed out of his uniform and into some casual clothes, then walked back into the kitchen. Can I help you with anything? Midoriya asked. I'm nearly done. Can you set the table? He asked. Midoriya nodded, then happily set the table for them both. Todoroki sat food on the table and they thank you for the food. Midoriya smiled, then ate. It was around midnight. Midoriya was restlessly rolling around in his sleep. He was stuck with the same scene playing out in his head. He woke up abruptly and laid there, shivering and taking sharp breaths. Thoughts were taking over his mind. He rolled out of bed and opened his cupboard. He shoved his hand into the pocket of one of his jackets, then pulled out a pencil sharpener blade. He snuck into the bathroom and stood by the sink. After slipping his long-sleeved pajama shirt off, he placed the blade on his shoulder and pushed it into his skin. He dragged it along his arm with a little bit of pressure, so it pierced the skin. As it did, he let out a raspy breath. He stared at the small wound, as little drops of vital fluid formed where the skin had broke. The thoughts didn't stop, so he worked on the same cut. He was making it deeper and deeper, and though it hurt, he hadn't noticed how deep it was. It took a while before he snapped back to reality, and he realized just how bad the cut was. He hadn't hit any major veins or arteries, but vital fluid was dripping out and not stopping. He panicked. He grabbed some toilet paper and wet it with the faucet water. He wiped the stains that was already going down his arm, then held the wet paper on the wound. It stung, and he was only really feeling it now. He flushed the paper down the toilet, then poked his head out of the bathroom. He sighed when he didn't see Todoroki. He picked up his shirt and rushed to his room. He closed his door behind himself and went to his cupboard. He put the blade away and grabbed micropore tape from his cupboard and placed it over the still bleeding wound. Vital fluid soaked through the tape. He panicked and put a couple layers on, then pulled his shirt back on. He laid in his bed and stared at the ceiling. He didn't feel tired at all. He felt too scared to sleep anyway. He spent the rest of the night unable to sleep, too scared to sleep, and in the end only got a few minutes before dawn. The next morning, Midoriya decided to get out of bed earlier than usual. He hadn't gotten more than a wink of sleep and was sick of lying around. He was cooking up breakfast for Todoroki and himself, though he was half asleep. "You're up early," Todoroki said as he walked out of his room. Midoriya glanced over at the taller boy and smiled. "Yeah," he mumbled. "You look exhausted. Did you have a bad sleep?" he asked as he walked up to the shorter boy and inspected his drowsy face. "Yeah," Midoriya mumbled. He glanced back at what he was cooking and flipped it. "Breakfast will be ready soon." Midoriya mumbled. "Okay, thanks," Todoroki said as he walked into the bathroom. Midoriya sighed. He closed his eyes for a moment, then felt heat sting his finger. He opened his eyes and backed away from the fry pan. His finger felt hot. "Oops," he mumbled. He held his burnt finger under the tap. He stood there for a while, brainlessly staring at the running water. He felt exhausted. Eventually, Todoroki got out of the shower and helped Midoriya finish off the food. They sat down together and ate quietly. Todoroki glanced at Midoriya's finger. "Did you burn your finger?" Todoroki asked. Midoriya looked at his finger, then nodded. "Somehow," Midoriya murmured. Todoroki stood up, then took an ice pack from the freezer. "Hey," he said as he handed it to Midoriya. "Thanks," Midoriya mumbled as he took the ice pack from his roommate. He held it on his finger and sighed. "Do you not feel well?" Todoroki asked. "I'm fine. Just didn't get much sleep," Midoriya mumbled. "Then, you should nap when school finishes today," Todoroki mentioned. Midoriya nodded. The day at school was slow, but Midoriya stayed focused. He enjoyed school, found it rather easy, or easier than he believed the elite school would be. He finished all the work in class and did extension work. For their third lesson, they had Aizawa for self-study. Midoriya had nothing to do, so he happily searched different chemicals in pyroclastic flow on his laptop. Aizawa walked up to his table and tapped on it. "What are you working on?" Aizawa asked. "Oh, I finished everything in class, so I'm researching chemicals in pyroclastic flow," Midoriya replied. "Pyrohata?" Aizawa sighed. "If you're not busy, can you help me return book from my commerce class?" "Oh, sure." Midoriya stood up. "I've got something to do. Momo is in charge of the class," Aizawa stated to the class, then walked off. Midoriya followed quickly behind. They walked down the long hallway, then down some stairs. They went into a classroom with 3A written on the door. A couple students were listening to a teacher in a math class. We are picking up textbooks. Don't mind us. Aizawa said. The teacher nodded. The two walked to one side of the classroom where a pile of books were. Give me a second. I need to tick off names of the books that are here, Aizawa said. Midoriya nodded and looked towards the board. The teacher was writing up a complex equation and explaining it to the class. Midoriya gasped and raised his hand. The teacher awkwardly looked at him. Yes? The teacher asked. You made a mistake. That's de Moivre's theorem, right? Midoriya asked. Yes, it is. The teacher looked at the mountain of writing on the board, searching for the mistake. Midoriya walked up to the board and picked up a marker. He erased a couple parts. You put this here instead, then you square it by that number, Midoriya explained as he wrote on the board. Oh, my mistake. Do you know how to finish this equation? The teacher asked. Easy. Midoriya smiled. He began writing more under the equation and finished it. Aren't you a first year? The teacher questioned. Midoriya glanced up at the teacher. Yes, he mumbled. You're not learning this at the moment then, the teacher said. No, I already knew this. Midoriya smiled. Aizawa and the teacher looked at each other. Maybe get him tested. You're teaching self-study now, aren't you? The teacher asked Aizawa. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Aizawa handed Midoriya a pile of books. Tested? Midoriya questioned. Aizawa walked out of the room with the rest of the books. Midoriya followed him. Sometimes, when a kid is smart, we can give them a test and move them up to a class that meets their skill. Aizawa explained. Oh, okay. Midoriya looked at the books he was holding. They were law books. Todoroki said. Midoriya hugged Todoroki reluctantly. They sat silently for a bit. It should have been me. Midoriya quietly. Do you enjoy math? Aizawa asked. Yeah, it's fun. I like the satisfaction of solving a complex equation. Midoriya smiled. I can't relate. I only do the math that's necessary in business. Aizawa said. They walked into the school library and to the return desk. That makes sense, but it's nice to know how to do complex things. I find that I'm scared of things I don't know, like most people are. Midoriya placed a pile of books on the desk. Yeah? Well, that's human nature. Aizawa smiled. The two walked back towards the class. Would you like to do complex math? Aizawa asked. Yeah, I think so. The stuff we are doing now is easy. Midoriya mumbled. Easy. The stuff first years do at this school is the stuff third years do at other schools. Aizawa said. Is it? I was doing the math we do in class in my first year of middle school. Midoriya mumbled. As extension work? Aizawa asked. Yeah. Midoriya smiled. Aizawa sighed. Then I'll get you the test now. Go back to class. Midoriya nodded and walked into the classroom. Aizawa continued walking to the office. It wasn't long before Aizawa returned with a couple sheets of paper. He sat them on Midoriya's desk. Do what you can here. Bring it to me when you're done, Aizawa stated. Midoriya worked through the sheets with a smile. For him, it was easy and fun. An hour later, the bell that signifies the end of the day went. Midoriya walked up to Aizawa and gave him the sheets of paper. Then he went back to his desk. Ready? Todoroki said as he walked up to Midoriya's table. Yup. Midoriya grinned. He swung his bag over his shoulder, then headed off with his roommate. I don't feel tired anymore, maybe because my brain had been busy working all day. Midoriya said. You should still take a nap. I'll prepare dinner, Todoroki suggested. Sounds good, thanks. Midoriya smiled. The pair traveled to the dorms and to their room. Todoroki got started on dinner, while Midoriya had a nap. It had been 2 weeks since school had started. Midoriya was moved up to third-year math. But apart from that, not a lot had happened. He hadn't been able to get a lot of sleep. It was a struggle to manage to fall asleep, and every time he did, he would wake up a couple hours later from the nightmare. It was getting worse and worse. He was only getting a couple hours of sleep each night, though. He was getting used to it. He was just glad he hadn't been waking Todoroki up. Today was like the rest. It was a Saturday night, and he was hopelessly lying awake in his bed. He tossed and turned, trying to get comfortable, but nothing was working. He decided to put on headphones and listen to music. The music helped him calm down. and he eventually fell asleep. But like every night, he had the same nightmare. But now, his mother would say it should have been you, and everyone would glare at him. He woke up 2 hours later, with tears streaming down his face. His heart was uncontrollably thudding, though he felt like he couldn't breathe. He scrambled to his cupboard and slid it open. He reached to the back where there was a small pencil case, and grabbed it, then ran out of his room. He stumbled into the bathroom and closed the door. He sat on the toilet and pulled up his sleeve. On his wrist were a few evenly spaced out scars. He opened the small pencil case and took out a blade. He sliced it across his wrist, then watched as the vital fluid trickled down his arm. The pain made him calm down a little, so he made another one, then another, and another, until he had made 10 neatly positioned cuts on his arm. He walked over to the sink, then turned on the tap. He washed off all the stains, then wrapped his arm up. Midoriya. His roommate called. Midoriya flinched. He quickly cleaned up and threw the pencil case into the back of the cupboard, not caring that there was some stain left on his blade. Yeah. Midoriya meekly squeaked. Are you okay? You've been in there a while, Todoroki mumbled. Midoriya pulled his sleeve over his bandage's arm, then opened the door and stepped out. I'm okay. Midoriya forced a smile. Todoroki stared at his face. Your smile looks tainted. Hey, what do you mean? Midoriya tilted his head. Todoroki held both of Midoriya's hands, then looked alerted. He raised both Midoriya's hands and stared at them. What's wrong? Midoriya nervously mumbled. This hand is cold, and slightly discolored, and a bit swollen, Todoroki said. Midoriya knew all that was because of the lack of vital fluid flow through his arm and hand, because he had been cutting. That's because my arm is still healing from when it was broken. Midoriya mumbled. Oh, Todoroki let go of his hands. Well, you look tired, Midoriya. Do you want to sleep in my bed? Last time you slept well. Midoriya stared at him. He didn't want to feel like a burden, but he was exhausted. Mana, and saw Todoroki. Please, don't hurt yourself. Please don't hurt yourself, Todoroki pleaded the boy that he held. Only if you're okay with it. Midoriya mumbled. I'm fine with it. Todoroki grabbed Midoriya's hand and walked into his room. Todoroki rolled out his futon onto the floor, then closed the curtain. He picked Midoriya up. Bedtime. Todoroki grinned. Oh, I can walk. Midoriya squirmed in his grasp. Todoroki placed the smaller boy on the bed and pulled the blanket over him. But you didn't, Todoroki teased. Midoriya smiled. Yeah. Thank you. Midoriya mumbled. Todoroki smiled. He was happy to see Midoriya's real smile. He turned off the lights, then laid down on the futon. Night, Midoriya, Todoroki mumbled. Good night. Midoriya yawned and sunk into the comfy bed. He somehow felt comforted by being around someone when going to sleep. It was like his negative thoughts just disappeared. He was more focused on how lucky he felt to have a nice roommate. It wasn't long before the warmth of Todoroki's bed accompanied him into his slumber. Todoroki fell asleep too. Though, again after around an hour, Midoriya woke up from the nightmare. He pulled at his hair, trying to make the thoughts go away. Todoroki's eyes opened and he glanced up at Midoriya. Midoriya, what's wrong? Todoroki asked. Midoriya's eyes darted towards Todoroki. His eyes filled with tears when he realized he had woken him up. Todoroki got up then sat on the bed. If you're struggling, tell me. You don't need to suffer alone, Todoroki said. Midoriya shook his head. I don't want to throw my problems at you. Midoriya mumbled. Todoroki sighed, then hugged the smaller boy. You won't get anywhere with that mindset. Mumbled. The accident. What do you mean? Todoroki asked calmly. I should have been killed. Not her. Not her, he mumbled. Don't say that. That's not true. No one should have died. Todoroki said. Midoriya stained Todoroki's shirt with his tears. Why does this always happen? Midoriya looked up at Todoroki. His eyes made him look broken. Why me? My mum's gone now. She was all I had. He cried. Todoroki said nothing. Midoriya cried. Todoroki pulled him into a tight hug. I don't get it. Some people have it so easy. But me? I've been bullied my whole life. People would tell me to kill myself. I couldn't do that, because Mum loved me. But now she's gone, so what's the point anymore? Midoriya muttered. He desperately tugged on Todoroki's shirt. Todoroki didn't know what to say, so he sat quietly. When Midoriya calmed down a little, he decided to speak. Midoriya, you have friends. I'm sure they all love you. I love you, in a non-gay way. Todoroki explained. Midoriya looked up at him and smiled. You're weird. Thank you, though, he mumbled. Todoroki smiled. But I mean it, he said. Midoriya laid down. Can you sleep in the bed with me? Midoriya asked. Oh, sure. Todoroki laid down. If I have a nightmare, and I wake you, please wake me up. Midoriya mumbled. Sure. Todoroki smiled. Midoriya sunk into the bed and fell asleep. Todoroki watched him sleep for a while. In his head, he replayed his sister's words. Don't fall for your roommate. But he believed he was failing because he wanted to protect the boy in front of him forever. The two roommates slept soundly together. For the first time in a couple months, Midoriya didn't wake up from any nightmares. They slept for 7 hours into the late morning of Sunday, and Todoroki was the first to wake up. When he opened his eyes, he saw a green mop of hair nuzzled into his chest. A small smile crossed his face, but he tried to avoid gay thoughts and failed. The taller boy managed to slide out of bed without waking Midoriya. He walked to the bathroom and did his business, then looked at himself in the mirror. I need to shave, he mumbled. He opened the cupboard and looked around the shelves. He noticed a small pencil case at the back of the shelf and pulled it out. He opened it up and looked inside. Wound tape, bandages, and blades? He inspected one of the blades and noticed dry vital fluid. Then he knew exactly what its purpose was. It was the afternoon. Midoriya and Todoroki were playing video games together while eating snacks. And though they were both enjoying themselves, Todoroki couldn't help but think about the pencil case. He had hidden it, taken it away from the cupboard. He didn't know whether it was the right thing to do or not, but he didn't want Midoriya to hurt himself. What would you like for dinner? Midoriya asked. I'm not sure, Todoroki replied. Midoriya opened the fridge and gasped. We have no food, he mumbled. Todoroki looked into the fridge. There was a bit of fruit, juice, and milk. Oh, I guess we haven't been to the shop since last weekend, Todoroki said. We should make that a Saturday thing. We go to the shops and buy food for the week. Midoriya smiled. With my dad's card. Todoroki held up a shiny card. You still have that? Midoriya chuckled. Don't tell my sister, Todoroki smiled. The two of them took a trip to the shops and brought enough food for the week, with Todoroki's dad's credit card. Midoriya got started on dinner while Todoroki unpacked the groceries. Did we have English homework? Todoroki asked. Nope. Midoriya said. Oh good. I thought we had homework for a moment. Todoroki sighed. I don't think we did. Unless you have math homework. Midoriya mentioned. No, I did it all in class, Todoroki said. Midoriya set out the food on the table. So, is your dad rich then? I mean, a golden credit card is a bit much. Midoriya sat down. Yes. We run the Endeavor Company. Todoroki sat down. No way. Endeavor? Isn't that the second biggest business in Japan? Midoriya beamed. Yes. The AM is first, but both companies are partnered, so I don't think they will try to kill each other, Todoroki said. Kill? Midoriya mumbled. Oh, sometimes the big companies send out spies to gather information and assassins to kill their rivals. It's against the law to have spies, though, Todoroki said. Who? Midoriya mumbled. Yeah, there's a big rival company that are stressing because the president of their company had a kid, but the kid killed himself because he didn't want to take over the company. Now they have no successor. I think the president is trying to adopt, Todoroki explained. That's scary. Wait, are you going to take over your father's business? Midoriya asked. Yes, I can't wait to overthrow that old man, Todoroki smiled. Midoriya smiled. What about the AM president? Does he have a successor? Midoriya asked. Yes. He's a business major at this school, Mirio Tagata. He's got pretty good grades. The AM president offered him his position. I don't think he is getting adopted, though, Todoroki said. Oh, Tagata-senpai is in my math class. Midoriya grinned. Oh, That's cool. Todoroki smiled at the boy's grin. But, Midoriya, you should be careful. Lots of business presidents come to this school looking for successes. You had the best exam results, right? They might come after you, Todoroki explained. Oh, but I want to work with science when I finish school. I don't want to take over a business. Midoriya mumbled. That sounds cool. Then, you'd have to tell them that if they try to offer you their position, Todoroki smiled. Okay. Midoriya smiled. The two boys ate together quietly. Midoriya seemed happy, but Todoroki was thinking again about the pencil case. Midoriya, do you want to sleep in my room again tonight? Todoroki asked. Midoriya looked up at him and smiled kindly. I don't want to invade your personal space again. Midoriya declined. I don't mind, but it's up to you. If you wake up again from a nightmare, come wake me. Todoroki shoved a spoon of rice into his mouth. Okay. Midoriya said, though he wasn't going to wake up his roommate. He didn't want to annoy him while he was sleeping. After dinner, Midoriya showered then got ready for bed. But before he got into his covers, he stared at the bed with a frown. He was scared that he'd be unable to fall asleep, or that he'd have a nightmare again. Please let me sleep, he mumbled. Then he climbed into the bed. After laying there for a while, he fell asleep. Though, that night was the same as them all. An hour later he woke up. This time he let out a scream. He covered his mouth when he came to his senses. Thoughts and voices were rushing through his head. You killed her. It's your fault she's dead. It should have been you. Why are you still alive? His eyes were wide open, and he was trembling. He stumbled out of his bed and ran to the bathroom. Murderer. Failure. He opened the cupboard and felt around for the pencil case, but he couldn't find it. The thoughts wouldn't stop. He felt like he was going insane. He fell to his knees by the cupboard and desperately scratched at his wrist. His nails didn't take long to graze his skin, but two hands latched themselves around his wrists and pulled his arms away from each other. The young teen was pulled into a hug. He glanced up quickly in a startled arms. Midoriya's eyes faded a little. He was trembling. Did you take it from the cupboard? He mumbled. Yes. Sorry. I didn't want you to hurt yourself, Todoroki said. Oh, I see. Midoriya mumbled quietly. You killed her. Should have been you. Midoriya began to panic. He squirmed out of Todoroki's grasp. I need it, he said as he ran off to his room. Todoroki got up and followed him. Midoriya reached into the pocket of his jacket and pulled out a spare blade. He glanced towards Todoroki and pushed him out. Ignore me, go to bed. Midoriya panicked as he closed his door on his roommate. He sat in front of the door and pulled up his sleeve. It should have been you. Midoriya sliced the blade across his arm. The thoughts calmed down a little. Midoriya. Midoriya opened the door. Todoroki knocked repeatedly on the door. Midoriya ignored him and stared at the vital fluid that was dripping down his arm. Todoroki tried to open the door, but Midoriya was sitting in front of it so it wouldn't budge. Please, I can help you. Todoroki pleaded. Midoriya held the blade on his arm and carefully drew a vertical line. Sorry, Mom. Sorry for killing you, he whispered. Tears were filling his eyes and making his vision cloudy. He continued deepening the vertical wound in his arm. The balcony door swung open, making a loud noise. Midoriya flinched, which forced the blade across his arm in a diagonal direction. Vital fluid spurted out of the wound. Midoriya dropped the blade and instinctively put his hand over the wound. Todoroki rushed over. Oh no! Todoroki stressed. Language. Midoriya mumbled. Is now the best time to comment on that? Todoroki asked. It's fine. I can deal with this. I'm okay now, Midoriya mumbled. Pass me any shirt from my cupboard. Todoroki stared at the boy, then pulled a shirt out from the cupboard. Midoriya put it over the wound and applied pressure. Please get me a sock. A long one. Midoriya mumbled. Todoroki rummaged through the drawers, then handed Midoriya a long sock. Midoriya tied it around his upper arm tightly. He let out a shaky breath. That's going to cut off the circulation. Todoroki said, I'd rather a temporarily paralyzed arm than circulatory collapse to occur. This artery is luckily not a major one, and I've only slightly damaged it. It should clot soon since I'm only producing about 110 millimeters of systolic pressure. Midoriya closed his eyes and held his arm above his head. He pressed his fingers on his neck. 89, he mumbled. I'll call an ambulance. Todoroki pulled out his phone. No, if you do that I'll disturb everyone. Sorry. You should go sleep. Midoriya mumbled. Stop it. Todoroki spat. Midoriya flinched and opened his eyes. Todoroki looked hurt. You're always trying to do things on your own. Won't you let me help? I want to help you. Todoroki stated. Midoriya stared at him. The two remained silent for a bit. You're right. Sorry. I've always been independent. I'm not used to receiving help. But please don't call anyone. Midoriya said weakly. Then, what can I do? Todoroki asked. 90, Midoriya mumbled. Could you clean up the stains on the floor? Midoriya asked. Yes. Do you want me to help you get to bed? Todoroki asked. I can do it. Midoriya mumbled. Todoroki frowned and picked the boy up. He carried him to the bed and laid him down carefully. You just relax, Todoroki said. He walked out of the room to collect cleaning supplies. Midoriya placed his fingers back on his neck and kept his injured arm elevated. 102, he mumbled. Todoroki walked in and began cleaning. Midoriya inhaled slowly, but sharply. Todoroki. So far I'm losing around 15% of my blood volume. My heart rate is elevated. If I pass out, call someone. I think I've gone into Class 2 hemorrhagic shock. Midoriya mumbled. Shouldn't we call someone now? What if it's too late later? Midoriya, I know you don't want to, but it's the right thing to do, Todoroki said. No, because if you do I'll be too scared to ever ask you for help. I'll be afraid that you'll tell. Midoriya mumbled. His eyes began to tear up. Okay. Just explain what this hemorrhagic stuff is. Todoroki sat on the end of his bed. Hemorrhagic shock is the depletion of intravascular volume through vital fluid loss to the point of being unable to match the tissue's demand for oxygen. Midoriya mumbled. Easy English. When you lose vital fluid and your red cells can't transport oxygen to organs and tissue at the required speed. Todoroki thought hard. Okay. And what's Class 2? He asked. When you lose between 15% and 30% of your total volume, I think. Unless it was 15–40%, I can't remember. Systolic pressure may fluctuate but normally stays the same. Heart rate increases to between 100 and 125 BPM. Midoriya said. Todoroki nodded and sighed. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do. I don't know any other ways to make the voices and thoughts go away. Midoriya mumbled. Stay with me. That worked yesterday, didn't it? Todoroki smiled. But Midoriya went to speak, but Todoroki cut him off. I don't mind. You're not getting in my way. I told you, Midoriya, I want to help. I'll do what I can. Todoroki held Midoriya's hand. Midoriya smiled a little. Around 10 minutes later, Midoriya took the sock off his arm and unraveled the shirt. The bleeding had finally stopped. He carefully placed a wet, clean shirt on the wound to clean it, then let it dry naturally. Any little bump and it'll bleed. Midoriya mumbled. He placed cut-up cloth on top of the wound, then wrapped wound tape around it to hold it in its place. Todoroki carefully bandaged up the teen's arm and placed a sling over his head. He leaned down and kissed Midoriya's hand. All better, Todoroki smiled. Midoriya blushed. My mum used to do that. Yeah? I can kiss all your injuries better now. Todoroki smiled, wondering if that sounded gay. You're a nice guy, Todoroki. Midoriya giggled. Todoroki carried Midoriya into his room and carefully laid him down. He hopped in the bed next to him and carefully held him. Midoriya fell asleep almost instantly. So, this was the end of part 1 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.